Welcome to the Atomic Hour. I'm your host, Frank W. You may recognize my guest tonight simply by her soothing velveteen voice. She starred opposite of some of the biggest names in Hollywood, and her latest film, The Adventures of Captain Cosmos, is no exception. I'm speaking, of course, of the one, the only, Michelle Krukowski. How are you doing today, Michelle?
I'm doing wonderful, Frank. I'm pleased to be here.
Now, Michelle, up until now, most of your work has been in silent film. Is that correct?
I prefer to call it gesture-based storytelling. It's a very powerful thing, conveying one's emotions with only your body. Not everyone can pull it off.
Yes, and you've been known to go to extreme limits to do it. Didn't you bite your co-star's ear off in one movie?
That's right. In the silent movie business, we prefer to show rather than tell. And in that scene, I was showing him I was angry.
But biting him, isn't that a bit much?
Well, I was also a vampire.
In the movie?
No, in real life. I was going through a phase.
Ah, I see. But despite your storied career in silent film, you must still be excited about your first speaking role.
Actually, I don't have any lines.
You don't?
Frank, you have to keep in mind that Captain Cosmos is a period drama. And the period just happens to be centuries in the future, where most people communicate through telepathy. In the film, I play a psychic hedgehog.
It sounds riveting, Michelle. And while I'd like to hear more, I'm afraid we're all out of time. Tune in next week when we interview renowned holotape actor Ronald Reagan, only on the Atomic Hour. Welcome to the Atomic Hour. I'm your host, Frank W. We have a great show for you this hour. In fact, second baseman for the Capitol Congressman, Wayne Terwilliger, is here. Hello, Wayne.
Hello, Frank. Glad to be here.
You've got a good team this year. What do you think your chances for winning the pennant are?
Well, I don't want to brag, but I think we're going to go all the way.
Is that a guarantee?
It most certainly is. You see, I got it all worked out. New York's ahead of us by 2 games right now. And I heard DiMaggio say they were going to take things 1 game at a time. Well, you know how they say we should always give 110%? I figured if we give 440% every time out, we can take things 4 games at a time. That's 3 whole games better than a team from New York.
Is that right?
It's like I said, I've already worked out the math.
But why not just try to win the next game? That way you wouldn't have to break the laws of space and time.
No, because if we did that, we wouldn't gain any ground. It's a pennant race. We have to catch them.
I don't think it's literally a race. They just call it that.
I'm sorry, Frank. That just doesn't make any sense.
Maybe you're right. Well, good luck with the season.
We don't need luck. We have the math in our favor.
If you say so. Either way, that's all the time we have for today. Tune in next week when my guest will be Golden Globe star Cindy Gray. Only on the Atomic Hour. Welcome to the Atomic Hour. I'm your host, Frank W. Tonight we have a special guest, the self-proclaimed ring-a-ding king, Jimmy Swank. How you doing, Jimmy? Is it Jimmy or James?
Why don't you just call me Dr. Swank?
Oh, I'm sorry. I wasn't aware you practiced medicine.
I don't, but that's what I told my mother, so it's best if you play along. She doesn't know about this whole rock and roll thing.
They didn't tell me you were funny.
I wasn't joking.
I see. Moving on to other topics, is it true your first album sold 1 million records?
That's what they tell me. I think they're trying to temper expectations, though, for the next album. My internal expectations have my sales in the neighborhood of 1 billion.
I don't know, Jimmy. There's only 500 million people in America.
You're not counting repeat purchases. I like the Maltese Mutant so much, I saw it 3 times in the theater. And my album was twice as good as that film.
But a film's different than a record, isn't it? I don't need to buy another copy to play it again, do I?
That's where you're mistaken. My records are very fragile. They're designed to break after 1 listen.
Well, that doesn't sound like very good business practice. I think it might even be illegal.
The law doesn't apply to celebrities, Frank. You would know that if your ratings were better.
Well, hopefully having you on will help with that. But that's all the time we have for today. Tune in next week when we interview the voice of Sugar Bombs himself, Boom Boom, the cereal-loving grenade. Only on the Atomic Hour.
Would you like to be Commie for a day? From the Moulin Rouge in Hollywood, one of the world's greatest showplaces, Sanders Brothers Entertainment presents the Cinderella Show for all ages, starring Jack Haley. You're supposed to clap. Right there is where you clap. Jesus, you idiots. I'm a famous celebrity, goddammit. Thank you. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Commie for a Day. The crown is ready, the throne is ready, the welfare checks are ready, and so are we. Harry, tell them what they'll be playing for. Well, Jack, in addition to being Commie for a Day, our 5 lovely contestants will receive this brand new television set from the Radiation King, the King of Electronics. How about that? I've got one of those myself, you know, only much larger because I'm rich. Now, let's meet our first contestant. Betty from Chino Hill is a mother of 2. Betty, why would you like to be Commie for a day?
Well, I lost my husband last November in a hunting accident.
Leaving you and the 2 kids?
Yes, sir. John and Jessie. They're 5 and 3 years old.
And what will you do when you become full-fledged communists?
I'd like some financial assistance. I've been working 2 jobs, but a lot of that goes into daycare, and I simply can't afford it.
So, you'd be taking hard-earned taxpayer money for free?
Well, when you put it that way, I don't know.
I'm kidding, Betty. We're all freedom-loving patriots here, I know that. But if you want to be Commie for a day, you'll need to think like a red. So again, I'll ask you. You need money, I'm correct?
I do. My children.
Yes. Jim and Mary.
John and Jessie.
Right. The point is, if you want Jim and Mary to have the best daycare, you're going to need more than the $1 a day you're earning at the diner. That money can come from taxpayers like myself. Now, I have to ask, do you think that's right?
I don't know. I guess. Since you said yourself you were rich.
Now you're thinking like a communist. In fact, why don't you have a word with Senator McCarthy over there? He has a few questions for you.
Did I win?
Why don't we wait to see what the polygraph says first? But what do you think, ladies and gentlemen? Is our mild-mannered housewife working for the Chinese? Call in and cast your votes now. And tell us if Betty Jones is our Commie for a day.
So, John, got any plans tonight?
None that involve you.
Why not? We could catch a movie.
No offense, but going to the movies with you is like watching paint dry.
That doesn't make any sense. Going to a movie isn't like watching anything but the movie.
It makes perfect sense. I go to a movie, you sit next to me, and now I'm bored.
What if I randomly sat next to you? How would you even know I was there?
How else? 'Cause there'd be paint on the screen. Nothing but drying paint. And as soon as I saw the paint, I say to myself, gee, I bet I know who that is sitting next to me. Why, it's my old pal Jeffrey.
But have you ever seen paint dry? It's not as dull as you think.
Of course it is. It's paint. It dries. End of story.
Well, let me ask you this. Which part dries first? The top or the bottom?
Ah, now that's a good question. I guess I don't know.
So you admit it's kind of interesting.
Maybe. What's your point?
My point is, stop being an insufferable arse and let's go watch a movie.
I'm taking you out of the game, Skip.
My name's Jean-Baptiste, Coach.
Damn it, Skip. Didn't I tell you I don't speak French?
Neither do I. And besides, I thought you were the skipper.
I am the skipper, and you're Skip. And this peanut butter on my thumb is Skippy.
What's the peanut butter for?
What do you think it's for? It's the doctor of the baseball.
My baseball needs a doctor? Is it sick?
It's got the PTSD, you dummy. Because in case you hadn't noticed, the team from St. Louis has spent the last hour knocking the cover out the thing. And do you know whose fault that is?
I'm afraid I don't, Coach.
Yours, you nincompoop.
I thought you said my name was Skip. What's the matter, John? You look a little blue.
What do you mean I look blue?
I mean what I mean. You look blue.
So you're saying I look sunny? Like the sky?
No, the opposite. I'd say your mind's a little cloudy.
So you're saying I look gray? Personally, I'd say I look a little green.
That don't follow you. Are you saying you're green in the gills? Green with envy?
Nah, like I'm about to puke. Probably from looking at your mug all day.
Look blue, grey or green, the point is you don't look well. There's something wrong.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, there is. I just found out my best friend is colorblind.
We've entered the soundstage at OEI Motion Pictures to visit with director Ian Gregory, who gave you How to Murder a Poor Person and The Man with the Vault Jumpsuit. Mr. Gregory is directing the acclaimed cyborg actor Ronald Reagan, as well as Joseph Wayne and newcomer Deborah Woodward in The Three Faces of Reagan.
There are three characters in this story who occupy one body, a cyborg. Now, I know in most movies, Ronald has played a human role, and the audience has simply been asked to suspend their belief. That is why most of his previous successes have come via the holotape industry. But I think here, playing a cyborg with multiple personalities, we're given the chance to take his acting at face value, for it's only by stripping Ronald of his humanity that we see the person inside. Of course, that's just two faces, man and machine. The third face we don't get to see until after he saves the planet and becomes governor of California. I don't want to give too much away, but let's just say it involves a ragtag group of Iranian militants, wars in space, and his Russian sidekick, Gorby. But I want to stress the action comes secondary to what I believe is an intense psychological drama.
Thank you, Ian. And as we depart the stage and let the actors go to work, we get one final glimpse at what makes Ronald Reagan the most successful cyborg actor in Hollywood. No, it's not the processing unit that lets him analyze 400 different interpretations of the same line every second, although that would be a good guess. It's his willingness to work with his more human counterparts that elevates the entire work. You'll see what I mean when you watch it in theaters. The Three Faces of Reagan, coming to a cinema near you.
She's an Oscar, Tony, and Emmy-winning actress. A co-star of hers once said, "She's worked with some of the biggest names in Hollywood, and yet she somehow manages to outshine them all." Her latest film is The Boulevard, and it opens in theaters across the country starting tomorrow. With me is Lana Werth.
That was Dean Domino who said that.
Was it? There's some debate about its provenance, whether it was Dean or another actor.
No, it was him. But if you know Dean, you'd know he said it with a touch of sarcasm, at least at first. I think he was angry I was stealing his scenes.
It was reported the two of you had a rocky relationship.
Dean and I got along fine. It was the director he took umbrage with.
In what way?
Well, you have to understand that Dean's a performer by trade, not an actor. And I don't mean that in a demeaning way. It's just that, as a performer, you're used to being in charge.
I see. So having that control wrenched away from him was difficult. He had trouble letting go, so to speak.
Exactly. You don't call yourself the king of swing and start taking orders from the Duke, regardless of whether you're in his domain.
So you two got along just fine?
We enjoyed each other's company. Not in the biblical sense, of course, no matter how much the tabloids claim otherwise.
Ah, I wanted to ask you about that, because there's one publication that seemed to make a living out of putting you on the front page.
Oh yes, the Daily Mirror. That's a cute name for a newspaper, don't you think? I mean, if this is a reflection of the current state of humanity, then I'm not sure I want to be a part of it.
It does tend to show our more ugly side.
Fantastical, I'd say. I'm all for Hollywood bearing its collective face, without all the glamour and makeup. The problem with the mirror is, it's as false as the industry it covers.
Was there a bit of tongue-in-cheek then in The Boulevard? In the trailer, they show a newspaper boy claiming you were murdered.
Yes, I did find that rather amusing. The one time they get it right. It's not even real.
Was it strange playing yourself? Or at least a fictionalized version of yourself?
It's strange, because it was written by someone else. So, you're not playing yourself so much as playing who the public thinks you are. And it's a bit embarrassing on some level because you realize you're nowhere near as dignified as people make you out to be.
So, I take it when you're at home you're wearing overalls and cursing like a sailor?
Not quite. I'm from England. We don't curse so much as furrow a brow.
And keep a stiff upper lip, as the saying goes.
Oh, naturally that way. You might think I'm being cold and unemotional right now. I'm just being British.
Is there any concern that people will think, that's the real Lana Werth?
Well, no. Because like I said, the public thinks that way already. It's just a part of being a celebrity. But the fact of the matter is, few people will ever get to know the real Lana Werth. I'm not sure I know her myself.
That's really the essence of life, isn't it? Getting to know yourself.
Yes. And the sad part is, by the time you figure it out, it's already too late.
Speaking of which, that's all the time we have for tonight. I want to thank my guest, the great Lana Werth, and thank everyone in the audience for listening. We'll see you next week.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Greg Penny. Tonight here on Quizmatic, our returning champion Charlie Templeton goes for his 20th win in a row, potentially bringing his cash earnings to over $300,000, the most money ever awarded on television. To do this, he is risking nearly all the money he's won so far, and quite possibly his family's hopes and dreams in the process. Are you sure you want to do this, Charlie? I hear your daughter is graduating high school this year.
Well, I've told Sally many times that community college is just as good as Harvard. But I don't plan on losing.
Glad to hear it, but be careful. Your opponent tonight is no slouch. Casey Green is a handsome young barber from Seal Falls, North Dakota, and a very sharp man. No pun intended.
Pleased to meet you, Greg. I'll do my best.
I'm sure you will, Casey. Best of luck. Not that you need it with that winning smile of yours. In any case, if you're both ready, let's say we start right now. Abraxadine Chemical presents Quizmatic! Hands on your buzzers, gentlemen. Our first question pertains to famous haircuts of the 20th century. For 10 points, what style, seen here on this General Atomics television, is worn by the king of rock himself, Elvis Presley? Charlie?
I believe that's a pompadour.
Correct, and the first 10 points go to you.
That was an easy one. But if the questions are going to be about hair, I'd have a hard time beating a barber.
Come on, Charlie, you know as well as I do, the questions are selected at random. So moving on to question number 2, for 20 points, this style of comb is characterized by its long tapered handle, similar to a common household pest.
That would be a rat-tail comb.
Correct, and with 20 points, that puts you in the lead.
Now hold on, that was another barber question. You said the questions were random.
They are, Charlie. It's purely a coincidence.
Okay, I'm just saying. If the next question is about haircuts or combs or clippers, I might just throw a fit.
Not to worry. Question 3 is about the Civil War.
Thank you. I don't mean to make accusations. It's just a little weird, you know, him being a barber and all.
I understand your concerns, Charlie. Now, for 30 points, what style of facial hair was worn by Civil War General Ambrose Burnside?
What the
Is it sideburns?
Correct again, Casey, and I must say, the audience loves it when you show us those dimples. Let's see them. Aren't they fantastic, America?
All right, I want to speak to someone in charge. This is obviously some kind of fix. I mean, why are all the damn questions things a barber would know.
Charlie, you're overreacting. Remember, there's still time for you to win the game. And you have my word that tonight's last question has absolutely nothing to do with haircuts, barbers, or Civil War generals of any kind.
You promise?
I swear on my mother's good name.
Fine. I'm sorry. It's just, it's a lot of money.
I know, Charlie. We all realize you're under a lot of pressure. Would you like to take a commercial break, or shall I read the question?
No, it's okay. You can read the question.
All right. For 50 points and the game, what is the name of Casey Green's mother?
Oh, for crying out loud! No! No! Don't you dare hit that buzzer, Casey! They did it to me, and they could do it to you!
My mother's name is Abigail.
Correct, and that makes you our new champion!
You can hear from my lawyer! You hear me?
I'm sorry, but that's all the time we have for today.
This isn't
Join
over.
us next week as
This
Casey Green
isn't
attempts to
over.
defend his title on America's favorite game show,
Quizmatic!
Quizmatic!
It's time for everyone's favorite newlywed guessing game, What's Burning My Bacon? I'm your host, Chip Steele, and with me tonight are two lovely couples who'll be vying for this week's prize, a nuclear-powered washer-dryer, courtesy of our friends at General Atomics International. And, of course, every winner will be eligible to win the grand prize, a lifetime supply of crab. Crab, the world's healthiest artificial meat substitute. Now, let's meet our first couple, shall we? He's a truck driver from Boston. She's a waitress from Leeds. Let's give a warm welcome to Harry and Sally Hernandez.
Well, let me just say, Chip, we're huge fans of the show. We watch it every night.
Well, not every night. There was that night the electricity went out.
Well, hopefully you know your wife as well as you know the show.
I'll do my best, Chip.
Good, good. Now, as you know, before the show started, we asked your wife questions about things that irritate her. And, interestingly enough, our first topic this week just happened to be you, Harry. We asked Sally about all the things that you do that really get on her nerves, and boy, were there a lot of them. But there was one habit that stood out above them all. So, with that in mind, let me ask you, Harry, what about you burns your wife's bacon?
Oh, this is easy. See, last year I decided to put all our life savings in limited edition bobbleheads. You know, I really think they'll appreciate much better than any stock. But my wife...
Hold on, you did what?
Oh wait, you didn't know?
Oh, I'm sorry, Harry. The answer we were looking for was it really burns my bacon when he forgets to throw out the trash. It was the trash, Harry, which is probably where you should throw out those worthless toys.
I can't believe you did this. How could you?
Honey,
Well, this is getting awkward. Why don't we take a commercial break, and when we get back, we'll meet the second newlywed couple, Clay and Jessica Curry, and ask them, what's burning my bacon? Welcome back to everyone's favorite newlywed guessing game, What's Burning My Bacon? I'm Chip Steele, and for those just tuning in, we've already awarded one couple a brand new General Atomics washer-dryer. Let's see if we can make it two. Without further ado, here's our next couple. She's a robotics engineer from MIT. He's a Mr. Handy from Robco. Let's give a warm welcome to Rhonda and Jeffrey Duval.
Hi, Chip. Jeffrey and I are ecstatic to be on your show.
Is that true, Jeffrey?
You'll have to take my wife's word for it, sir. I'm not capable of actual emotion.
That makes two of us. We sure can fake it, can't we?
I'm programmed to simulate that very thing.
Fantastic. Well, Rhonda, as you know, before we went on stage, we grilled your husband on all the things that just burn his bacon. Of course, to make it difficult, every week we use a different topic, and it might not be something you're aware of. This week's topic is vacations. So, Rhonda, what are some things that might happen on vacation that really burns Jeffrey's bacon?
Well, Chip, it's gotta be the lack of an adequate charging station. Installing new fuel rods into Jeffrey's 23-8B nuclear power unit can be hazardous without the right environmental safeguards.
Are you sure that's your answer? I was under the impression nuclear fuel rods lasted for decades.
You don't understand. Jeffrey and I spend a lot of energy in the bedroom, if you get what I mean.
Oh. Well then, is that your final answer?
It's my final answer, Chip.
Well, guess what? You're right. You truly know what burns his bacon. Not only do you win a General Atomics washer dryer, you're eligible for the grand prize when we host a Tournament of Championships in December.
Oh, Chip, I can't wait.
Just make sure you recharge Jeffrey's fuel rods between now and then, huh? Well, that's it for this edition. Don't forget to tune in next week for another exciting episode of What's Burning My Bacon.